As for what's next, a key Supreme Court decision with the justices this term set to take up a challenge to Roe versus Wade that could overturn that landmark decision protecting abortion rights.
Abortion policy is once again front and center in American politics, but let's drop the policy to focus on legality. It's a complex issue, so we want to talk about what actually gives people the right to have an abortion. Everyone knows about Roe v. Wade, so we want to really look into what the Supreme Court justices decided back in the 70s. In 1973, a ruling held the right to privacy in the Constitution was broad enough to include the right to end a pregnancy. Originally, Roe said states couldn't enact laws regulating abortion in the first trimester and could only protect patient health in the second trimester and ban abortion at the point of fetal viability, which is right around 23 weeks.
One thing people also don't know is that Roe per se is not the only law anymore. The Supreme Court has modified it in 1992 in a case called Planned Parenthood versus Casey. And Casey said that you can regulate abortion as long as the regulation is not unduly burdensome, but that there's still a right to choose abortion before viability. So when we're talking about what the Supreme Court might or might not overrule for Roe and Casey, it's the case that states can abortion quite a bit, which is why we see this kind of patchwork where some states already have relatively little access to abortion and others have much more.
So with the Casey ruling, states are allowed to enact their own abortion laws, so long as they don't create an undue burden, which is defined in the Casey ruling as an undue burden exists and therefore a provision of law is invalid if its purpose or effect is to place a substantial obstacle in the path of a woman seeking an abortion before the fetus attains viability. That's pretty vague, so what kind of restrictive laws are allowed?
Well, there are lots of laws that restrict access to abortion. There are laws that require things like waiting periods that can have disparate effects on low-income people who would have to take more time off of work or stay longer at a hotel. There are restrictions on telemedicine abortion in many states, including large swaths of the South and Midwest that make it harder for people to access any kind of abortion medication in their homes.
This map is based on data from Reproductive Policy Research Center, the Guttmacher Institute, a pro-abortion rights organization. The darkest colors show states with the most restrictive abortion laws, and the lightest colors have the least restrictive laws. Even states with few laws restricting access, there are still burdens like cost.
The average cost of a first trimester abortion is about $500. So some people's private insurance would cover abortion. People who are on Medicaid, so as is often the case, low-income people are both more likely not to be able to come up with $500 easily. That could be a lot of money, and also are less likely to have their insurance cover abortion because the Medicaid program, because of the Hyde Amendment, does not allow reimbursement for abortions.
This term, the Supreme Court is being asked to overturn Roe and instead uphold a state law banning abortions at 15 weeks. But what would happen if the court ruled in Mississippi's favor and overturned Roe?
So if people are worried about what the Supreme Court is doing or happy about what the Supreme Court is doing, either way, they're going to have to continue organizing politically, not least when it comes to state level politics, right? In terms of influencing their state legislatures and governors to dictate what policy is going to look like. And I think kind of relatedly, if you know the history of this, you also would realize that whatever the Supreme Court says is not going to resolve things once and for all. It's much more likely to trigger a political backlash and an ongoing debate that'll probably be with us, another 50 years from now, much as we're still talking about Roe 50 years after the original decision.